We have quite a few updates, or for you guys out there, Trump dates. Ugh, sorry about that. I'll kick my own ass later. When it comes to the raid on Mar-A-Lago, first and foremost, okay, you have the son who's overseeing the premises at the time of the raid, Eric Trump, saying that he's going to be releasing the surveillance tapes of the premises to the public to make sure that they can go ahead and comb over everything and see if the FBI was totally on the up and up. But I'm just wondering, I don't know anything specifically that would prevent them from being able to do that by releasing the tapes and making them public. Okay, theoretically it is the private residence of the Trump family or the Trump enterprise or whoever has access to those tapes. You can definitely make all of them available. It would be incredibly interesting to see where they went, because we went over the search warrant at the end of last week. Was that Friday it got made public? Thursday or Friday, something like that. Okay, we went over it. We've seen how many different places the FBI was allowed to go into, and they were there from 9 o'clock in the morning until about 6, a little after 6 at night, okay? So, yeah, I'm not going to be going over. If they ever do get released, then there's no reason to believe that Eric Trump would put this out there without releasing them. So if he is going to release them, I'll just wait for the highlights and all that stuff, because we ain't going over, multi-camera views of 8 hours. I ain't got that much time. Ain't nobody got time for that. Former President Donald Trump's son, Eric, revealed that the family will release surveillance tapes that show FBI agents raiding his Mar-A-Lago property last week. I think the most interesting thing, at least what comes off the top of my mind, is there was an allegation that the FBI broke a padlock off of a door where all the files were being stored. And what's interesting about that, even though there was locks on the door and all that stuff beforehand, was the FBI themselves requested that Trump put the additional lock on the door, and that was obviously adhered to by the president, and they came to that conclusion mutually. So I don't really know, but anyways, yeah, that'll be fun to see. Will you still have the surveillance tapes, is that correct? Are you allowed to share that with the country? Fox News host, Sean Hannity, asked Eric Trump Monday night. Surprised it was Hannity who was actually talking to Eric. He wasn't too busy trying to simp for another alphabet agency. Fuck Sean Hannity. The younger Trump replied absolutely, adding that the video will be released at the right time. Interesting, because we also have a couple of other things been made public today, okay? First and foremost, on top of that, because that Eric Trump announcing that was just pretty breaking here, but Norah O'Donnell, okay, apparently she hosts the evening news for CBS. She got some shit wrong. She got it wrong purposefully. She knew about her bad information, but still decided to run with it. And this is the face of one of the main, okay, CBS. It's one of the 4 big network stations, okay? She hosts the least successful variation of the evening news, okay? And she's supposed to be a credible figure in this space. Interesting. CBS evening news anchor Norah O'Donnell is a rankling journalist at CBS News with her tweets about former President Donald Trump's passports. Yes, because the FBI, it was claimed that Trump's passports were seized by the FBI. And then they also later confirmed that. Some emails have alleged as well. But let's get into why this was so egregious. Donald tweeted Monday that she had been told by a DOJ official, some intern somewhere, that the FBI was not in possession of Trump's 3 passports. Which contradicted the former president's statement that his travel documents were taken by the FBI agents who searched his Florida home last week. The anchor attributed the information to a single source, which is a big no-no at CBS News. Yeah, no, you're supposed to be 2 independently verified sources. That's just basic, journalistic knowledge. Before you run with a breaking story, you need to be able to prove it. But no. One errant email. That's all you need. Which has a strict 2-source protocol. Angry CBS sources told the Post. They added that the tweet also made it sound like O'Donnell was calling a former president a liar. Yeah, but it's Trump. And it's mass media. So again, it's another day that ends in Y. What is she also going to report? Breaking news. Grass is green, sky is blue. What the fuck? This is an embarrassment for CBS. God, have you seen their evening lineup? Everything that they do is a fucking embarrassment. Look at their streaming platform, or what, when they have to relaunch it again because it just lost $1.6 billion. It's fucking atrocious, okay? Keep milking Star Trek for whatever it's worth at this point. The FBI had returned the documents earlier this afternoon, according to now public correspondence between Trump's camp and the DOJ. But yesterday it was good enough to run with. According to the DOJ officials, the FBI is not in possession of former President Donald Trump's passports. Trump has accused the FBI of stealing his 3 passports during a search of his Mar-A-Lago home. Donald's tweet went viral after Trump spokesman Taylor Budowich tweeted a screenshot of the email of the member of the Department of Justice National Security Division that acknowledged the Bureau removed the 45th president travel documents from Mar-a-Lago. This is how fake news works. Coming from Taylor Budowich, Biden's administration actively feeds half-truths and lies that the media willingly amplifies, advancing a partisan narrative to attack Trump. Norah O'Donnell, did your source read the emails? Did you bother asking if they indeed seized the passports? No, she didn't. She just ran with it. And again, it's always easier in mass media. What they do, they just push out the salacious lie. Whatever will get clicks, whatever seems the most inflammatory at the time. Checking your sources be damned, because you can always write a retraction at a later date after all the damage has already been done, and that'll be seen by a third to a quarter of the audience. So that's exactly why they did it, and that's why they're going to keep doing it. So it's going to be interesting, though, because Judge Bruce Reinhart, okay, who has, he's still holding on to that affidavit, which was grounds to get the search warrant. Why are they doing that? Well, there's going to be some very delicate information that's going to be very telling as to who the snitch was. We don't need to know the name. All we need to do is know the probable cause that led to the search warrant. Okay, when we broke it down, there was parts A, B, and C listed for the search warrant. Part A was which premises was going to be searched. Okay, Part B was supposed to be what exactly is the FBI looking for, and Part C is supposed to be the grounds for getting the search warrant, i.e. the affidavit. But that was redacted, okay? It's all pure speculation at this point, but could be getting close to figuring out who this is, because within a second of looking at the information, the Trump team's just going to be able to go, it was that guy over there. And there's been names flying around out there. It's like, oh, it was Jared Kushner who was doing it. Isn't he dying of cancer right now or some shit like that? So who fucking even knows? I highly doubt it. I think he's a weasel. I don't think he's a snitch. But we have some insider information as to what could be in that search warrant, okay, which is also very interesting. And before we get to the hearing to decide if the affidavit's going to be released, we have this New York Times article, okay? It's been archived and all that shit. You feel free to go through it, and I'll have the links to everything in the description as always. This is from February 7th of this year. Trump gives documents improperly taken from White House to archives. Okay, so everything that was apparently part of the search warrant was already put back. Okay, this is interesting, and this was circulated in February. A lot of the stuff, if we ever do end up seeing the search warrant, it's probably going to look an awful lot like this. The justification, that is. Former President Donald J. Trump last month handed over National Archives 15 boxes of documents, letters, gifts, and mementos that had been taken with him when leaving office, but that had been illegally required to leave in the custody of the federal government, officials said on Monday. The materials included the original versions of the letter that former President Barack Obama had left for Trump when he was first sworn in, as well as correspondence from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The items also included a map Mr. Trump famously drew on with black Sharpie marker to demonstrate the track of Hurricane Dorian heading toward Alabama in 2019, to back up the declaration that he made on Twitter that contradicted weather forecasts. Okay. The boxes contained items taken from the White House's residence during a hasty exit after Trump had spent a bulk of his presidential transition trying to find ways to stay in power. New York Times, you make me sick to my stomach. Washington Post, oh good, their partner in crime, reported earlier that Mr. Trump had handed over the boxes to the National Archives. So what are you looking for? Okay, what do you want, the Sharpie that he used to draw on the map? Okay. National Archives said in a statement that it obtained the boxes in mid-January and that Mr. Trump's lawyers told the agency that they are continuing to search the additional presidential records that belong to the archives. Ergo, that's why we're here right now. So, judge avoids immediate decision on a Trump FBI search warrant affidavit, schedules a hearing. Interesting. So, when's this going to go down? Because that's what I want to know. August 18th, so Wednesday. Oh, I'm sorry, Thursday. I thought today was Monday. Anyways, a federal judge in Florida had avoided ruling on whether to unseal a key document related to the FBI's raid of former President Donald Trump's resort, instead scheduling a hearing to hear arguments from parties in person. Yeah, I don't know what the AUSA could come and it's like, stop it. No, we have our reasons. It's an ongoing investigation. You can't release the search warrant. It's going to be really tough to make a compelling case, and we already know who the judge is, Bruce Reinhart. Judicial watches a motion to unseal the search warrant affidavit and other materials backed by a number of other businesses and groups will be the subject of the August 18th hearing at the federal court in West Palm Beach. The nonprofit urged the court on August 10th, 2 days after the raid, to unseal the warrant, the affidavit, and related documents. So far, they've been successful on one of those grounds. As for the related documents, what'd you guys take? We got vague descriptions, but actually, what'd you guys take? Come on, you've had like a week to go over everything. Actually, a week yesterday was when the raid was conducted. Given the political context and the highly unusual action of executing a search warrant at the residence of former president and likely future political opponent, it is essential that the public understands as soon as possible the basis for the government's action. Any government interest in securing the identities of witnesses and confidential sources, if any, may be addressed by appropriate redactions for the search warrant affidavit. Yeah, exactly. Because we've been under the assumption that there's a leaker, somebody who worked or was on the premises within the inner circle of Trump, or was just merely at Mar-A-Lago saying that there's classified documents here. You guys need to come in and bust down the doors. Maybe they're just acting like the institution, the deep state. I'll just go ahead and clarify on that. Maybe they're just acting like they always have. Taking a look at their trusted sources out there, going back through the archives, taking a look at some old New York Times articles, and maybe jumping to some hasty conclusions that, it said that Trump had 15 boxes that he returned, but then we went to his place in Mar-a-Lago and we found 15 boxes and some photo albums and some passports and some attorney-client privilege documents. Okay. Again, we ever do see, okay, and according to this, it's supposed to be the Judge Reinhart unsealed the warrant itself and inventory receipts listing items agents sealed from the resort, but has kept other material shielded, among them the affidavit, a document signed by a law enforcement official that argued a warrant to be approved. Parties can file replies to the government's filing 9 a.m. on August 18th. The hearing will be at 1 p.m. that day. No remote access to the hearing will be enabled. It's kind of par for the course for federal arguments. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, maybe we'll have another surprise at the end of the week. Who really knows? But I don't know the grounds for this. I don't know the grounds for unsealing a affidavit at all. But one guy who definitely does, former director of national intelligence, that's John Ratcliffe. That dude was on point for a whole bunch of things. He was the first one to really uncover the fact that Hillary Clinton was the one who was colluding with Russia and not so much anybody else. He really got the ball rolling when it came to all that stuff. For the longest time, it was one of the most popular videos that I had on my channel, but that was a long time ago. That was back in late 2020. Sorry, early in my channel's life, but it was late 2020 at the time. Anyways, former director of national intelligence chief rejects DOJ claims on keeping FBI affidavit secret. He would know. He would definitely know. Okay, former DNI John Ratcliffe called for the release of the underlying affidavit that rationalizes the FBI raid on former President Trump's Mar-A-Lago resort. I'll just go ahead and add the flourish. Speaking to Fox News, Ratcliffe, who served on the Trump administration, rejected an argument made Monday by the Department of Justice to keep the affidavit sealed without any redactions. In the court filing, the Justice Department lawyer said that unsealing the affidavit, which was used to convince the judge to authorize the search warrant, would imperil its investigation. Why is that? Why is that? You don't have to tell us exactly who it is. We just want to see your justification. It's the United States taxpayer dollars that are funding this raid, so we have the right to know about a couple of things. Well, me by proxy, the United States citizens, you guys have the right to know. It is your money after all. It's garbage to say the information couldn't be redacted so that the remainder of the affidavit that is important to establish probable cause is something that we can see, Ratcliffe told Laura Ingraham on Monday. Ratcliffe, a former GOP Texas congressman, noted that there could be a national security information in the affidavit that the federal government does not want to release to the public. However, he raised concerns about whether the FBI went too far in its search of Mar-A-Lago, saying, "Some would call it a fishing expedition. I would call it a hunting license." Fair enough. Tomato. It literally allowed the FBI lawfully, because it was signed off, to gather every government document and presidential record from President Trump's first day as president through the last day of his presidency, he said, for the first term. Anyways, Trump 2024. Ratcliffe, however, disagreed with the calls to release the affidavit in full because it is far too sensitive. Yeah, exactly. You can take out some particulars, but what did this person who signed under the penalty of perjury think was on the premises of Mar-A-Lago? That could be very interesting. Okay, and again, if we are never going to see this affidavit in full, in part, at all, looks like there's some good old FBI agents who are in that share number. It just has to be noted for how nice it is. But 14 FBI whistleblowers have come forward, according to Representative Jim Jordan, who has zero fucking chill. 14 FBI whistleblowers have come forward to provide information to Republican congressional investigators, Jim Jordan said on August 14th, about a week after the FBI raided former President Donald Trump's Florida home. 14 FBI agents, if I have to say that again, I'm going to literally punch a hole in my head, have come to our office as whistleblowers, and they are good people. Jordan told Fox News. What's Fox News getting all these scoops for? Again, they realized the distancing themselves from Trump was probably really bad for business. Anyways, there are a lot of good people in the FBI. It's the top that is the problem. Exactly. That's the problem with all of these hierarchies. They get really corrupt at the top sometimes, and it's time to, what is that? As a wise man once said, drain the swamp. Some of these are good agents are coming to us, telling us what's going on, the political nature now of the Justice Department, talking about the school board issues. Oh, right. Yeah, when people who were protesting local school board just meetings, yeah, those are domestic terrorists. Right. And white supremacy is the number one cause of domestic terrorism in the United States, the number one concern. Allahu Akbar. 2 months ago, Jordan said about 6 FBI whistleblowers, okay, good, so is that just good for one punch? Anyways, approached the committee. 2 came forward about the memo related to the alleged violence and intimidation at school board meetings, and 4 in connection with a January 6th Capitol breach. In the Senate, meanwhile, Senator Chuck, your ass is Grassley, in July said whistleblowers have come to his office to provide information, including disclosures relating to the investigation into Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings, which again, more leaks are starting to come out on that one. So it begs the question, okay, because we don't know exactly what the FBI is doing. It is, in fact, I'm pretty sure the largest 3-letter alphabet institution in the federal government, okay? There's a lot of branches, there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen, so they have an opportunity to do a whole bunch of things simultaneously. But if you take a look at the things that are not getting investigated as much as, what Trump was keeping at Mar-A-Lago, a couple of fucking back and forth written letters between him and Kim Jong-un, like them exchanging hair tips, local barbers in your area, like that's what you're worried about. And again, I don't buy that whole, there's nuclear codes at Mar-A-Lago. Trump had all of the nuke documents. He has the codes and shit. Yeah, he probably did. He probably knew them all between 2017 and 2021, but then after that, don't you think that they probably changed those? Like, it's pretty fucking obvious at this point, okay? And it's not like Trump has that red phone on his desk where he could just pick it up and say, launch the nukes, get Putin out of there. Do you think anybody's going to pick up on the other side and fucking turn the key a la War Games and fucking press the button at the same time? And Trump's just automatically going to have the fucking, the controls just pop out of his 45 desk and he can just press whatever the fuck he wants. It's not going to matter. And again, the power of the president during the time while he's in office to declassify information is fucking absolute, for Christ's sake. So this is, for all intents and purposes, a witch hunt. But the longer that this goes on and the more cover that gets thrown over top of this without any clarity, the dirtier it's going to get on both sides, of course, okay? But we know that the tapes are going to be coming out, okay? That's going to be very, very spicy. I'd imagine it's probably going to come out after the affidavit either does or doesn't get released, and you just gotta watch out for mass media continuing to push out their blatant and obvious fucking misinformation in order to prop up that narrative. Trump is literally planning a coup. We've seen the documents, or at least my source, a guy who just gets coffee for the Department of Justice, said at one point or another that Trump is literally Hitler and we should probably take him seriously. And that's basically what they're fucking running on at this point. It's a joke. It's a fucking witch hunt. It's as DNI Ratcliffe said, not so much a fishing expedition as it is a hunting license. And you goddamn well better believe that they're looking down the fucking barrel of that metaphorical rifle at this point, knowing of the failure that's just off in the distance that is in November. And they're getting desperate. They're getting very desperate. With all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.